That definition of masculinity is a reflection of current state of masculinity in the world, which is mostly shadow masculinity. Real masculinity is grounded, safe, present, unwavering. And that's the energy that when we think about polarity in business, in terms of the masculine, that's what we want to cultivate, right? Because society paints that masculinity is aggressive, hard charging, critical, directive, go. But even within polarities, there are polarities. That the shadow aspect of it. And really, what we're doing here, so more money is great. A nice, fun business is great. But my ulterior motive here is that you become the ideal mother and father to your inner child that you always needed but never got. So what's going to happen is when things get challenging in business, you're going to revert back to treating yourself the way you were treated as a child. You will drive yourself the way you were parented because that's all you know. So the brain's going to default to what's familiar. But that's where you have to ask yourself the question, what's the, if I was a parent, if I was really a parent to myself, is this the parent I would want to be? Is this the parent I would want to have? Right? Or do I want to be the parent who's, it's okay, honey, it's okay. We'll figure this out. Like, you don't need to panic. And that's the good mother. So in terms of the feminine, that's also really warped in society. The positive archetype of the feminine is the wise, loving mother who's gentle, who's nurturing, who's affirming, who's tell me, come here, tell me what's happening. I got you. 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 The more we play with these archetypes of our internal, the loving, clear, boundaried, safe, masculine parent, and the gentle, warm, nurturing, supportive, feminine parent, the more we can ride this flow state, this flow tunnel of having just enough support because we're not putting up with our bullshit. We're not lying to ourselves. We're very truthful and honest and direct about what's happening and how we're showing up, but we're also not hypercritical. So we get the support from the inner shock absorber of not being hypercritical, of not being really aggressive with ourselves and intolerant, and that perfect combination of support and challenge allows us to operate in this flow state. And I don't like that word as much because what we're engineering is not a state, because a state is temporary. We are trying to architect macro flow through life. We're trying to create a structure, a container, and the business is one container, right? Your house is another container. We're trying to create the structure that creates that masculine principle of containment. It houses us. Because if suddenly the house that all of you are in right now, if it just went away while we're talking and people could just walk through your living room, you wouldn't feel relaxed. You wouldn't feel comfortable. You'd be on edge. So the boundary system, the container actually creates safety. And the feminine principle, it animates, that's the energy that moves through. That's what creates experience. So in business, that's money, it's goodwill, it's impact, all those currencies. So we're architecting a geometry that allows you to operate in a state of flow the most amount of time for the longest amount of time in a way that energizes you more than it takes energy from you. Because to me, that's winning the game of life. Because the way we're doing it, you're doing all this work in a state of turn on. You're energized by what you're doing. You're really into it, right? So you're getting paid to do something that really electrifies you, that makes you come alive. So we're creating an incentive structure around that too. And so that's at a much deeper level what we're actually doing here. And that's why, A, it's important for us to treat ourselves really well. And too indulgent or being too critical, they're both equally dangerous, right? So we want to write that fine line where I have high standards, but I'm also my biggest cheerleader. And I love on myself relentlessly. And I believe in myself relentlessly. And I believe that I'll figure it out and it'll be okay. And I don't want to settle for stuff that doesn't turn me on. And the place where this really applies is sometimes we let the past determine the future because the past is familiar and we want to hold on to what's familiar because it creates certainty. So one of the reasons, so in a driving analogy, there's three ways to drive. You can step on the gas, you can slowly take your foot off the gas, or you can step on the brakes. Looking in the rear view mirror, what we're leaving behind, what's in the past, while driving forward, trying to get somewhere is not a good idea. And we do that because we're trying to locate ourselves, we're trying to stabilize. If we create that internal stability, you will trust yourself to just focus on the next thing because you know that you'll figure it out, it'll reveal itself.